Well, welcome, ladies, to day 2 of John chapter 13. We are digging right in today, Ashrita, and maybe just trying to look at this, just a reminder to observe this story with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And so, what stood out to you today? I mean, we're somewhat familiar with the story of Judas's betrayal of Jesus.
Yeah, kind of looking at it, well, from a literary standpoint, but then also from the humanity of Jesus, and seeing the relationship between Jesus and Judas. That tension in verse 26, that the disciples ask, "Who is it?" And Jesus says, "It's to him to whom I give this morsel of bread."
That's right.
Which you had pointed out.
Right, that's a very intimate act. I mean, culturally speaking, back then, first century Jews, that would be an intimate act to share bread with another person. So that was personal.
It shows close relationship. Also, like, Jesus knew all these things. He knew who was going to betray him, right? Because that's how the day opens. And yet he had just washed Judas's feet. I mean, these are the feet that we're going to walk to the high priest. These are the feet of the one who was going to go into the garden and betray him. And yet he washes his feet. There's that personal connection and interaction.
What kind of love is that?
I can't fathom it. Like, that's one of the things with this chapter and this week that has just touched me more deeply than I think any other chapter, because it's shown the shallowness of my own love.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that the fact that Christ can love someone that he knows is betraying him. Betrayal hurts.
That's the other thing that stood out to me too. Like, in Jesus' humanity, it says in verse 21 that he was troubled in his spirit. And I was just thinking, yeah, Jesus knew these things. And in a way, you can say, oh, he was so removed that he was able to wash his feet and he was able to do all these things and it didn't even touch him. Like, he was so in control of his emotions that he was fine. And it's not that Jesus loses control, but he is so in touch with his full humanity, including his emotions, that we see he's troubled.
Absolutely.
Like, this man had spent 3 years with him.
Right.
They had shared bread.
Right.
They had probably slept in the same room or on the road together, or, they had shared everyday life together.
They have journeyed together intimately for the 3 years, as you said.
Yeah.
I noticed too when I read this that this betrayal, when it talks about that, also points back to the betrayal of David. And there was a cross reference for Psalm 41:9, where David says, "Even my close friend in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted his heel against me." And just another picture how all of Scripture fits together. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, this text is so sobering and heartbreaking, and that Judas was so close and experienced Jesus' grace and his love in such a personal manner. And yet we see two things here. One is where Satan enters into him, and two, where John says it was night. And it wasn't just literally nighttime.
Right. Anything literal also speaks to spiritual. And so it is spiritually dark for Judas. And that is absolutely right. Ashrita, it's sobering to think about someone walking so closely, so intimately with Jesus for these years, but not having the spiritual light. Still being one in the dark and one of unbelief. That's sobering.
It is. And I mean, I think it's a reality today too. That our churches are filled with people who are walking in darkness. Like, you can go through the motions, you can be part of the community, and yet not be of the light. Definitely a day to ponder. I think not in fear.
Absolutely.
But rather in self-reflection.
Absolutely. That's well said. Thank you.